I'm Dr Louise Newson. I'm a GP and menopause specialist, and I'm also the founder of the Newson Health Menopause and Wellbeing Centre here in Stratford-upon-Avon. I'm also the founder of the free Balance app. Each week on my podcast, join me and my special guests where we discuss all things perimenopause and menopause. We talk about the latest research, bust myths on menopause symptoms and treatments, and often share moving and always inspirational personal stories. This podcast is brought to you by the Newson Health Group, which has clinics across the UK dedicated to providing individualised perimenopause and menopause care for all women. So today in the podcast, I want to introduce to you my youngest ever guest. I'm very excited that my 12-year-old daughter, Lucy, has agreed to come and talk on the podcast, which is something I never thought I'd be able to do. And didn't really expect to think about children when it came to the menopause, because if we Google menopause, of course, it's always old women with grey hair. But Lucy probably knows more than anyone else in the world who's 12 about menopause. Yeah. So welcome, Lucy. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, hello.
You can.
Yeah.
So this is your first podcast experience, and I'm really pleased that you're talking about it.
Not the first.
We tried before, but it ended up in giggles, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions and you can answer as honestly as you'd like. So the first question is, Lucy, do you think you know much about the menopause?
I definitely know more than anyone at my age. But compared to you, I really don't. I don't know that much compared to you. But I do know a fair bit. So.
Yeah, of course. So if someone said to you, what's the menopause? What would you say to them?
It's when your periods stop, or they're stopping, and you lose some of the hormones like estrogen and testosterone in your body, so you start having symptoms that aren't very nice.
And what about some of the symptoms? What have you learned over the last few years? What symptoms have you heard about?
The main one is hot flushes, which I think it was a few years ago an article came out and they said you could go cold water swimming to prevent that, and you got really annoyed about that. There's also vaginal dryness and libido and I swear there's cold flushes as well as hot
People
flushes.
can sometimes get cold flushes, yeah.
And depression, anxiety. Isn't dementia another kind of thing?
Some people, we know that women, the longer they are without the hormones, the greater the risk of dementia. But yeah, memory loss is really common. And there's all sorts of symptoms, and they don't occur with everybody, and they can come at different times. And lots of people don't have symptoms, or they don't have all the symptoms. And some people do have a lot, and it's definitely the mental health symptoms. So the low mood, anxiety, memory problems, fatigue, irritability. Some people just get really cross. Obviously, I was nothing like that, was I, when I was perimenopausal? Do you remember?
I actually can't, because I was 4, so I really...
But do you remember your sisters talking about it?
No, I wasn't part of those conversations. All I remember was that I used to actually prefer to be around Daddy when it came to that. Because I remember I had this journal, or not thing that I drew in, and I drew you and Daddy, and I wrote, I prefer Daddy to Mummy, don't tell anyone. And that's all I can remember of it.
So yes, my oldest daughter Jessica, your older sister, has been quite vocal about how irritable and short-tempered I was. And you were young, but I'm sure you were experiencing... Daddy's very level-headed. He doesn't really get cross. But I know that I was getting cross and irritable and short-tempered, and it probably did lead to you drawing those things in your journal, which thankfully I didn't see at the time, because I probably would have burst into tears and felt worse. So
I know, that's why I didn't want to tell anyone.
Oh, but hopefully I'm not quite so irritable now,
Actually,
am
I told Sophie, the middle daughter, but she was like, you cannot tell anyone, like, she will kill you. Like, you can't even tell Daddy. Yeah.
So,
but I remember you used to get loads of arguments with Sophie. I can't remember if that was related, but I used to just like run up to my room and I was like really scared. But I think that might have actually been related because I was still quite young. And
I think it was. I was less tolerant of anything, and Sophie's hormones were going up and down as well, and my hormones were going up and down. And we're very similar. We're both middle children, and we both are quite feisty at times, as you know. And I had a really short fuse, and so did she. And it wasn't a nice time, but thankfully we get on very well now, and her hormones are more balanced, and mine certainly are as well. But sometimes we talk, obviously, about the menopause, and I remember ages ago, actually, do you remember when you were at Rainbows, you had this bag, didn't you? Then you had to decorate a bag. And I came to pick you up, and everybody came out. Do you remember that? And so people had glue and glitter and paint, and they came out with their mums, and this glue was dripping down from the bag. And I thought, oh no, what's Lucy going to do? And you just had it folded up. And I thought you hadn't done it. So just explain to everyone what you did, Lucy, with your tote bag at and how old were you first? How old were you?
So Rainbows, I think it's like 4 to 6.
Or 7, you're about 6, I think.
Or 7. I was like towards the older bit. But it's basically decorating these like canvas tote bags. And we could have like, there's like glue, glitter, like felt tip pens. I only really use the felt tip pens. But I drew this like half and half thing of before HRT and after HRT. And on the before, it was this like woman who had like really bad hair, and her dress was fine, but like it was like night time. I don't know why. And then on the other side,
and she had a sad face.
She was very sad. And then on the other side, it was a woman with nicer hair and a happy face and like a brighter dress. So it was like daytime. And then on the like handles, I written like HRT, like all around the handles.
What did your friends say to you? Can you remember?
I actually can't remember. I remember being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this with Mummy and make her so happy. And like she can use it for like advertising her company. And that's just what was going through my head. Because to be honest, I didn't really want a tote bag because I'd have so many. And I didn't really need it at that age. But
I was very excited. Yeah. I mean, 5 years ago, so we were just opening the clinic. And we'd found this building, as many people realise, Winton House in Stratford-upon-Avon.
Before that. I was like 5.
Yeah. So it was around the time, but you were very good because you used to come to Stratford a lot, and because it was over the summer holidays, we started to refurb the building and get rid of all the green carpet and the swirly blinds and put in walls.
Fun going over.
Yeah, so you used to go over and meet Claire and help us, and then when we opened the clinic, do you remember what your badge said? You had a special badge,
I
and
had
you still
this
have
like
badge.
magnetic badge. I lost it when I was parking and I dropped it on the floor, which is really annoying. But it said Lucy Anderson, Dr Louise Newson's personal assistant, or something like that. And I used to wear it all the time. And it was like very nice.
Yes.
I loved it.
Which was very nice, wasn't it? So people could know that you were really instrumental in helping. And actually, you've encouraged me, all 3 of you, and Daddy, of course, it really encouraged me with my work, because you sometimes hear when I've had difficult times or difficult days. But actually, what's really interesting as well, Lucy, is that I wrote an article which was in the paper, you probably don't know, last week, talking about the impact of the menopause in schools and how so many teachers are leaving their jobs because of the way the menopause affects them, and they're not able to get the right treatment.
When I was at my junior school, I'd been there for a long time, and I remember people coming up to me when I was in like year 2, and then they were coming to me and be like, oh, my mum saw you on the telly this morning, like, tell her I say hi, or something like that. And that was in year 2, so like by year 6, like people didn't really talk about it as much, actually, which was quite surprising. But that time we were bigger, but most of the teachers, like, I had this teacher come up to me and be like, oh yeah, by the way, tell your mum, like, she's really helped me, and like stuff like that. And yeah, it was really nice.
Well, I did go to the school and gave a presentation to a lot of the teachers, and I think that really helped them understand, like you say, what all the different symptoms were.
I think it was year 4, we were doing this paper test to see like the weight, like how different types of paper like have different weights, and she got out this like normal A4 size of paper, and she was like, would it be fair if I got this and then like your flyer, which was like A5, and this next to each other, and I did that, would that be a fair test? And like, no. And I remember saying to the people on my table, being like, that's my mum's flyer, and like being like really proud of it. So yeah, that's one of my memories from school.
Do you think men should understand what the menopause is?
Yeah, men should understand. I think they should also, like, if they understood, then maybe they would be more tolerant of it, and like help more women, which would be better for, I don't know, like the community of people like that.
Of course it would.
So
yeah, it'd be better for everyone, wouldn't it? But when you were at school, I remember testing you on some of your science, and you had a picture, didn't you, of a womb and the ovaries. And what were you taught about the hormones, estrogen and progesterone?
So we were learning about puberty and stuff, and there was this like, you know, like when you like get the diagram and there'd be like the labels, and you'd have to like write them in. My mum was like, oh, like what does this like produce, like hormone wise? And all I knew was that women produced estrogen. All they told us, I knew more obviously, is that women produce estrogen and men produce testosterone, and that was it. That's all we learned. We didn't learn anything else. But I think that's why so many people are against women getting testosterone, because they think it's like a man, like hormones, but it's not.
Yes. No, absolutely not. But yeah, well, I didn't know it when I was young, and I didn't even know it when I was a junior doctor. No one taught me. And if no one teaches you, you don't know, do you? And then you just think, well, it's all about men, and estrogen's all about women, which isn't right, as we know now. And the menopause is not just about periods; it's about hormones affecting everywhere in our body, isn't it? So do you think it's better that younger people know about it so that they can either help other people or know for themselves?
Especially if you're like my age, as like a young woman / old girl. I don't know, that sounds really weird, that's saying old girl, but it makes you aware that when you're older, like Jessica, my older sister, who now has the estrogen, it impacts her life, makes her life better. If you know from my age what it does and that it's good for you, then you'll have a better quality of life. Because if Jessica didn't get like estrogen and stuff, I don't think she would be as good in the state of mind that she is now.
Yes, I think that's so important, because, you know, young people like you and your sisters talk a lot more freely than I was when I was your age, or sort of your grandmothers spoke. They didn't really talk about anything. They didn't talk about periods, or they didn't talk about sex, or they didn't talk about hormones. But actually, if you're talking about everything, you might as well add talking about hormones as well, and really understand what's going on, because it's your body it's going to happen to as well, isn't it? So you want to know what's going on, and then you can recognise and hopefully get the right help.
I feel like, because if you know about the hormones in your body, then you're more aware of what's happening to you as such. I mean, even for boys, like, if they knew more about hormones, then they'd help, like, women, like, girls that they meet, they can help them, like, if they're menopause, or, like, they need estrogen, and, but they also can use that knowledge to learn about what's actually happening to them as well.
Yeah, so when I started my Instagram account, Sophie, who's now 19, was your age, so it's about 7 years ago. And you know what? She told me off for my Instagram because the boys were laughing because I put in a picture of a dry sponge. And I said, vaginal dryness can be like this. And once people have the moisture back with the hormones, they can feel a lot better. And then I put something about sex being very painful when people have vaginal dryness. And Sophie came home in a very flamboyant way and said, Mummy, this is really embarrassing. The boys on the train were laughing at me. This is awful. I don't want you to continue doing your work. I said to her, I'll take it down then and I'll stop doing the work because you're more important than my work. And then she said, well, keep it going for a bit. Let's see what happens, because the boys just said it once. And you know what boys are like. They say something and then they move on to something else. Yeah. So they weren't judging her for it. And then I did a podcast with James Smith, who's a big PT, personal trainer, and loads of the boys contacted Sophie and went, oh my God, this is really sick. This is amazing. Your mum's done this. How on earth does she know James Smith? And then they're all going, oh my God, your mum's got so many followers. This is really cool. So Sophie's changed her mind and she's very proud. And many of you who follow me on Instagram will have seen the gorgeous book that she wrote, which you know about, which was a surprise to me for my birthday.
I was the daughter in it.
Yes.
It was the one that was hanging out.
You were in the little video.
Because I could see that you were very tearful. But yeah.
I wasn't expecting it at all.
She's very good at doing meaningful presents and cards as well, which is nice.
So all three of you have witnessed how hard it is to be a woman at work. Do you think it's harder for a woman to be high in their career or working hard than it is for a man? Or do you think it's the same?
I think it depends how old they are, because definitely if they're older, like approaching that like pre-menopausal, like menopausal stage, then it is a lot harder. Like I think when it gets to that stage, they should be offered help. Like I think it should, like, you know how you have like a cycle to work scheme. I think they should have like a HRT kind of thing as well, because then in that way they have like this even ground when it comes to that. But I think when they're younger, they probably have the same chance, because there's not much hormone changes, because they've just like kind of like got through puberty as such, so their hormones are like more like balanced, and it's easier, I'd say, for women.
Yeah, because I met someone recently who told me that she'd changed her job. She said, my job is not so high powered. I've gone part-time and I have a lower paid job that's easier to do. Because I'm menopausal, I need to change my job. And she hadn't had any treatment or HRT, and I think that's really sad, isn't it?
No, because she could have kept that job. Because I think if you keep that job and you realise that you're struggling, and then you find like people like you, and then you get the treatment you need, you can stay in that job for as long as you want to. You don't necessarily have to like downgrade as such on your job just because you're menopausal. You don't have to.
I don't want to downgrade.
Otherwise, you don't. No, it's not really fair in a way. I don't think.
It's not. It's not fair at all, is it? And then even if just pretend that I was a man for a minute, and you know some of the bullying and the conversations that I have with lawyers and other people, and come into your bedroom crying. Do you think these people will get at me if I was Daddy doing this job? Exactly the same job. Do you think he would be seen more of as a hero?
No, but yeah, because he's a man. But I think you can't really bully you unless you've actually tried. If you're a man that has no experience of it whatsoever, like for example, like Daddy will know the difference between you before HRT and you after HRT. And if there's like no difference at all, he has the right to say like what are you doing, you know? And then if it was a woman who has tried HRT and has got like related problems from that, then of course like they can get mad at you. But currently the people that are bullying you, like, they don't have that kind of experience. And like if they had that experience, then they have like the right to bully you. That sounds really wrong, but you know what I mean.
No, I know what you mean. And I think it's difficult because you've experienced bullies at school, haven't you? And what would be your tip for people who have had bullying? What works when people bully?
Just don't take it to heart. Like, you'll always have people that support you, unless you don't, but you'll always have someone that actually cares about you and knows that you're not that worthless. So just don't take it to heart at all. Just ignore it.
Yes. It's easy to say, isn't it? But it's very it's sometimes quite hard to do.
Yeah, they wind you up, but you can't let them wind you up, which is it's you can't let them do that to you. It's quite hard, but after a while you'll get it. Yeah.
And I think I've got a few people that support me, haven't I?
Like me. And Daddy and Jessica and Sophie.
Yes. Absolutely. And I think sometimes when you don't always know the backstory of people, and there are some people who, well, everyone's got a backstory, of course. We've got backstories just knowing that you've never met either of your granddads because they died before you were born. Both your sisters have been very ill at different times. You've had various operations. There's always things that have happened. But actually, I think some of these people who bully, they just don't have the good things that we have. We have a really close family that there's lots of love. And sometimes people don't experience love in the same way.
Yeah, I think having a close family really helps because you can just talk to them about anything and you don't feel that distant. But if we weren't as close, I think you would really struggle and I would really struggle and we would all really struggle.
Absolutely would. I'm very lucky. So don't change as your hormones start to change, Lucy. No. So you've done really well on this podcast. I think it's been really interesting and informative to have the menopause through the lens of a 12-year-old. We've not had this before. We might not have it again. Before we end, though, Lucy, I always ask for 3 take-home tips. What 3 reasons do you think children should know about the menopause? So this is boys and girls. 3 main things that you think why people should know about the menopause.
So, if you learn about the hormone side of it, it can, help you understand your body, with puberty, help you understand it. B, it will help you understand, if you have a mum like your mum and, what's happening to her. And C, it'll just improve, if you're a girl, then it can improve your quality of life, and if you're a boy, it still can improve your quality of life. So.
Very good. So basically everybody, whatever age, whatever gender, needs to know about the menopause. Oh, thanks, Lucy. I'm very, very impressed and very delighted that you've given up your time today. So thank you. You can find out more about Newson Health Group by visiting www.newsonhealth.co.uk. And you can download the free Balance app on the App Store or Google Play.